Click some buttons. Then we'll hit the button and tick our way through. Hey, there we go. Oh. There we go. Make sure all the bits are in the places they're supposed to be. Excuse me. I'll just let people come in, share bits and pieces around. What are we doing? Everything appears to have gone to the place it's meant to be. There we go. Awesome. Hello. Yes, it's the wrong day again, but this is the nature of having to commentate from time to time on a Wednesday. Those of you on watch back, those of you on catch up, what secret word? We'll do a nice easy secret word. If you're watching on catch up on YouTube, the word to stick down in the comments is pumpkin. Something nice and straightforward for tonight. We don't need to think too hard on a Friday. That's for certain. What I've also not done, which is not my smartest of moves, I've opened that, but I've not opened. The graphics have opened up in the stream, but I've not opened them for me to look at because the view I've got, everything is really tiny on my screen. So I need to open up the actual. Graphics momentarily. There they go. We'll just wait for those to move. Brill. There we go. Right. It appears we are almost ready to properly get on with things. I am, however, going to just check. That is down. That is what it is. Right. We may as well crack on and get going with it, mightn't we? Guys, gals, and the gender fluid and all beyond the binary. It's the wrong day. It is Friday, it is 8 PM, and it's time again for the BOTW What's Current stream. My name is Anthony Russell, here to take you through the weird, wonderful, and wacky world that is British ice hockey. We focus on the absolute lot, from the Elite League to the NIHL to the SNL to the WNIHL. If a senior game has been played across Britain, we will catch you up on the result and look at the lot. From Belfast to Bradford, Leeds to Lee Valley, we leave no stone unturned. I have also got the camera slightly wonky, so let's sort that out. But yes, otherwise, we are here once again, as we usually are, at least once during the week, usually on a Wednesday, but because of commentary bits and pieces, they're on a Friday. So we will catch you up with all the bits and pieces that have happened across the week. Hope everyone's doing well. Like I say, there is a bunch of games going on across the National Division, across the Elite League tonight as well. He says, just quickly reminding himself to actually make sure he's got the NIHL page loaded up. So we're just having a quick squeeze of bits and pieces so we get the results. We've got the scores open for momentarily. Massively unhelpful that that's defaulted looking at the wrong day, because we want the game that is tonight in the National. Thank you very much for that. Either way, a bit of housekeeping to do before we get any further on bits and pieces. So bannersonthewall.wordpress.com. If you want to on all things related to British hockey, of course, you can follow my commentary journey throughout the season. That has been Dear me, the words aren't coming out of my mouth this evening. Should we try that again? Follow my commentary journey across this whole season with the Guildford Flames in the Box Thinking. That's our running series that we will have on the website. We are one piece behind because I've not written up Wednesdays yet, mostly because I've been preparing for everything else I've got to do. But otherwise, in the Box Thinking, you get an in-depth look at the experience of being a commentator and my breakdown of the last game that I commentated on. So Wednesday nights should come out at some point tomorrow. Guildford are not playing tomorrow, so they're going to try and get it out at some point during Saturday. But you've got all of those there. Of course, you've got our hockey story series. It's been a busy week here at BOTW. Long form, in-depth bits and pieces with people. Sometimes they're written, sometimes they're audio visual, but we look at the absolute magnitude of all the different pieces from British hockey from the 19th century to the present day, behind the Iron Curtain, into war and beyond. And of course, you've got the latest piece, our fantastic interview with Jordan Kelsall of the Nottingham Panthers, and learning about his love of finance and investing in Trade Centre. That is there for you guys to check out as well. And an extra piece this week on BOTW, because for the first time in 2.5 years, Running with the Herd is back on BOTW. We will go through last Saturday when we get there momentarily, because we have an extra piece to add to the hockey shelf momentarily, which we will do live on the show. The other thing, of course, is we are live on YouTube, usually on a Wednesday night, tonight on a Friday night. But whenever we are here, this is the home of the What's Current stream, and of course has got hours worth of bits and pieces, whether it's game reviews, interviews, some of the hockey stories pieces are here as well. There is tons of stuff for you to check out. Head down, subscribe to the channel, looking to try and push up the subscriber numbers as high as we possibly can do. Fighting the algorithm from time to time. Let's keep the algorithm hamster happy, fat and fed. Share stuff out. Like what you like. Also, check down in the description as well for all of the links to our socials, including our virtual busking hat at buymeacoffee.com/BOTW. Never going behind the paywall, but it's there. Things cost money, so if you want to help keep the lights on and keep the wheels spinning, you can do that there. The great thing, of course, as well, when we are live, this is not just about a monologue, it gets you guys involved as well, which means you've got the benefit of the chat. Questions, comments, thoughts, feelings, anything you guys want to chuck in as we're chatting our way through British hockey, then of course you may do so. But please remember the golden rule here at BOTW. That is DBAD. Don't be a dick. Be respectful of other people's thoughts and feelings. We are going to have a jolly good time. Hope everyone is doing well. As it's a Friday night, it does mean the drinks are out. It is only a Radler, so it's only a 2%er at the moment, because I didn't want to go too hard on the whiskey on stream where I have to try and concentrate and operate a few bits and pieces. If you are joining us tonight, of course, the warm-up question, there can only be one question on Halloween, whether you're watching live or on catch-up. The question is trick or treat, and a lot of people are saying treat, unsurprisingly. Andrew Day joining us in the chat. Treat in answer to the question. Frölunda have just won 3-0 against Linköping in the SDHL. Only a 1-0 game as 2 late empty net goals. Finished just in time to chat on this. Fantastic, Andrew. We always love having you around. Remember to check out Andrew and Adam Macklin on All Blaze No Glory, the new podcast focusing on women's hockey. That's great stuff to see. So, the scores as we are live, as there's a few games going on in the Elite League. Manchester leading Fife by 2-1. Nottingham leading Belfast in the second period by 1-0. And Cole Ewley has the Guildford Flames 1-0 to the good against the Dundee Stars. Of course, Guildford announcing a couple of extra bodies today. Nick Seitz has left the Sheffield Steelers and headed his way down to the south of England. He joins the Guildford Flames in amongst the injury crisis. And a Elite League debut tonight in Dundee for Elliot Lewis. He has joined on a 2-way contract with the Milton Keynes Lightning. Of course, but had a really promising last couple of years in Bristol. Had a really promising start to his time in MK into the bargain. And he gets his crack at the Elite League tonight. He's ended up on what is written down as the second line alongside Matthew Gosselin and Josh Waller. Not a bad introduction to the Elite League for the Southampton-born youngster. In the National Division, it is currently 2-2 at the end of the first period between the Sheffield Steel Dogs and the Solway Sharks. Just quickly clicking some buttons. Goals for the Dogs coming from Liam Steele and Jonas Ladinmar. Jake Bolton and Derek Osick with the goals for the Sharks. The Sharks actually 2-1 up at one point in that game before Ladinmar's equaliser for Sheffield. Yeah, a few bits going on. Let's go back. Let's go back to last week, because like I said, we need to talk about the fact that we got there in the end. If I take a move to the side, there is a space in the hockey shelf that is now empty. Because for the first time since the 9th of April 2023, last Saturday night, the Basingstoke Bison took to the ice at home in Basingstoke. We have Running with the Herd, which I gave my update on that one, and it was not the result that anybody wanted. We, of course, will talk about that momentarily. However, big picture, which is that the rink in Basingstoke is back open again. That the town's national representative sports team is back at home, and the club that took me in and welcomed me after I come back from Germany and welcomed me into British hockey, the club that Banners on the Wall was born out of covering, is back. The Basingstoke Bison are home where they belong. Now, it is definitely still a work in progress for the Basingstoke Arena. There are quite a few things still that are very much on a temporary footing, but they are probably in a position where they can at least have the rink open and have ice. It is very surreal again after so many years to see seating down both sides of the rink. A DJ box again built there to see. Like I said, a few things not quite there. So the place where the Zamboni used to hide is now just a complete open space, and the Zamboni is just sitting there. There is no plexiglass around the back of the benches, so I was able to stand on the bench. Thanks very much, I should say, to Gary, the Bison equipment manager, Gary Mitchell. He said, "I shouldn't let you on here, you know." And I just gave him a look, and he just said, and he just left me be, which was very, very kind of him, because he didn't have to do that, and he did move some other people on. Visiting media, let's call me that for the time being. I'd obviously banged on about the fact as well, about that beer bottle, that wretched beer bottle that had sat in the corner of my kitchen from the Bison's end of season 2 at the end of the 22-23 season, saying it would go when the Bison were dead or when the Bison were back. And there was a moment where obviously people were queuing, nobody wanted to lose their place in the queue, which is absolutely fine, but I was stood with Sally Cashman. And for people not really familiar, and I don't expect people outside of Basingstoke to know, but Sally Cashman has been heavily involved in the Ice Rink Users Forum, one of the groups pushing, prodding both the council and Planet Ice and doing that liaising piece with people about what was going on. And Sally is a person who's been around the rink as long as it has been open. And there was just a nice moment. She'd come over to talk to me, and I checked the time, and I suddenly realised what the time was. And it was 5:15. I said I was going to do it before everything sort of kicked off, so I had time. And a lot of you know, I don't believe in luck. I believe it's the 3 C's for me: Christ, coincidence, and cake. And I was stood by a place that I assume would have been an old ashtray kind of thing, or some sort of sort of open thing that was kind of like a mailbox kind of thing that wasn't fully attached, but there was enough space there. And I had some paper cups in the backpack, and I managed to, because the joy of that beer bottle was, it was a screw cap. So I didn't need the bottle opener. So if Lee's lurking around, you can make your own jokes now. But I poured out a little bit for me, and I poured out a glass for absent friends, for those who couldn't be there, wanted to be there, for people who were joining us from far better seats than we have now. I took a swig of it. It tasted as appalling as you would have thought it would have tasted. It was bloody awful, but it was also worth every minute of waiting. So, as I said, there is one thing left to add to this shelf. If you'll bear with me momentarily, because I kept it very specifically, because I figured that we needed to round it all out together, because the bottle was a symbol of what was gone, and it was left behind, and there was no point having the empty bottle there, but I figured that keeping that as a memory of the journey that we all went on, because now Ice Sport in Basingstoke can start building itself back. The Bison, the flagship, are there. Bring back the Buffalo, bring back the juniors, bring back the ice dancers and the ice skaters, bring back the synchro, bring back the free skate, because now we are on our way back, and that can live there. Either way, if you're going to Basingstoke over the next couple of weeks, like I say, please be prepared for the fact that everything is not perfect. They do now this week, from my understanding, have the bit that was Little Frankie's. That's going to be open as a bar. That's going to be open for season ticket holders from 5 o'clock and 5:30 for the for game day ticket holders, which is a nice little idea. A little bit of an advantage to being a season ticket holder. You get to kind of get in earlier as a result. Like that a lot. Yeah, it's not perfect, and it's still cold, and yeah, there's a few bits that you look at and you'll sort of squint at, but it's still very much a work in progress. So that's no bad thing on that front. But I will take, as I did on last Saturday evening, or a toast to all, like I say, a toast to all of you as well for putting up with my nonsense for 2.5 years. But it was nice. I was able to kind of round that piece out, put it to one side, and now it feels like the weight that was kind of hanging over my head about Basingstoke and the new role that I've taken on, I can kind of put that to one side now, and I feel, and it's good because now I know that when I want to go back, I can always go back, because that's the good thing about home. Sometimes you have to move on to the next chapter, as I've had to do, but home's always there, and when I need it, I know I can go back to it, and that's the important thing. Either way, plenty of news from other bits and pieces that we of course need to talk about. We will touch on bits and pieces from individual games as we go through. Though of course the one thing we do need to talk about was the news today that the Osborne brothers have left the MK Lightning and have joined the Romford Raiders. Of course, a lot of talk to do with the fact that they weren't getting much ice time, and they've left to go to a team that is going to give them that. I'm not going to comment on some of the other bits and pieces as to what's gone on. A lot of parents complaining about stuff to do with their adult children on Facebook, and Nikki has been having an absolute field day with that over in 4,000 and counting. But either way, what does it mean for the Raiders to add the Osbornes? Well, given their pedigree in playing at the junior level that they did do in the US, it's added extra depth. I don't expect them to go straight into the top line. That would be fanciful. But what it does allow is it allows a couple of things. It gives Jason Buckman some more options. Now, the Buccaneers have had a really torrid season so far. Ethan James's first season of coaching has not been an easy one by any stretch of the imagination. But what this does allow is a little bit of rotation, potentially even letting the Osbornes play the odd game in Division 1 to get their legs back under them, allow them a chance to go into a level where they can probably have much more influence on a game. But it also allows some of those younger guys that have been called up from the Buccaneers roster that have been filling out the bottom end of the Raiders roster to go back down to Division 1 and make sure that Paul Maxwell Mullen, our boy, is not getting lit up like a Christmas tree every week. But yeah, so lots of that. We talked about those player movements as well in Guildford, and like I say, Elliot Lewis. Well, let's have a quick look at how Elliot Lewis is doing by clicking the bits and pieces. That's the wrong button, Anthony. Well done. We have a quick look at the player stats. How is Elliot Lewis doing in his first Elite League game? 3 minutes and 25 of ice time through the first period. That's not terrible. It is just looking at it. It is the lowest on the team. However, he's up there, and he appears to 325. 325 is more than at least three. He's got more ice time than at least 3 of the Stars players at the moment. So that is a pretty solid performance from the young MK forward through 20 minutes worth of action. Either way, Luca Tassadri, happy Halloween, young man. As on a Friday night, I was about to say, Friday night as a university student, why are you not in the bar? But you've got a game. You've got a game tomorrow, and quite a big one as well, actually. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We do love Luca joining the fun. What we'll do, though, is we will press some buttons, and let's have a quick bash through the Elite League bits and pieces. Now, the joy of the fact is we are nearly at the end of the Challenge Cup, which is going to make doing this vastly easier for me. But what we'll do is we're going to split. We're going to talk about the Challenge Cup first, then we'll talk about the Elite League bits and pieces, because like I say, the group stage is starting to come to an end, and it's going to make covering everything a little bit easier. So what you've got on the screen right now is all of the Challenge Cup games that happened from the last Wednesday when we were on, up until Sunday, because that is what we've had so far. Because of course we had games whilst we were on the air last Wednesday, a week ago on Wednesday night. Fife losing at home to the Dundee Stars in a shootout, meaning that the Stars are still in a very good position in Group B. And that all-important game in Group A, the Blaze getting past the 60 minutes automatically qualifies the Coventry Blaze for the semi-finals. So the Steelers and the Blaze go through automatically from Group A. Nottingham will go into the play-in game as a result of their shootout win. They will take on the team that comes second in Group B, and we'll touch on that in a little bit because we'll have a look at the table and see all the permutations. There was one game on Friday in Group B, Glasgow easily doing away with Fife by 5 goals to 1, and then Belfast, well, they didn't give Glasgow the best of weekends as a result. It was a good Friday, not a good Saturday. The Giants with a 3-0 shutout win, 28-shot shutout for Jackson Whistle as the Giants look to focus and try and steal their way to the top of Group B. And then in Group A, well, there was one of the headlines of the weekend. Manchester 1, Sheffield 2. That game only goes 40 minutes because an ice issue sees the game abandoned at the end of the second. However, with 2 periods having been played, Elite League rules say the result stands. The Steelers had already qualified for the semi-finals of the Challenge Cup, and the extra win just cemented their place at the top of Group A. The fixtures then this weekend, there are a couple of games. There is one game in Group A on Sunday. That is where you will find me this coming Sunday evening, a 6 p.m. face-off in the final game of Group A. It is a dead rubber, unfortunately, for the Guildford Flames and the Cardiff Devils, but an opportunity to potentially try a few bits and pieces out, or if nothing else, get some momentum going as the league campaign will begin in earnest for both sides, as neither can qualify for the semi-finals. One game on Saturday in Group B, Fife take on Glasgow, and then on Sunday, one game Saturday is Fife versus Glasgow. Sunday is Glasgow versus Dundee. Really big game in the context of Group B for the Stars, that one on Sunday. It says trying to press the button because why is it not moving on? There we go. So, Challenge Cup to one side. Let's have a look at the league results in the Elite League from last Saturday. 4 games on the docket. The Stars didn't have as good a start in the league campaign as they've done in the Cup. A big win for Manchester on Saturday evening. That 4-1 win in Dundee, getting them some key points on the board. The Steelers, well, they were 2-0 up and 3-2 up before the Flames crawled their way back into this game. And a late goal from Ethan Strang thought the Flames had taken themselves to overtime, but Dominic Cormier's winner, 48 seconds from the final buzzer, gives the Steelers the 2 points and the victory. A good win for Cardiff at home against Nottingham. They win by 4 goals to 1, and a much needed win for Coventry, whose form started to take a dip, as is their goal scoring, but they won by 4 goals to 1 in Kirkcaldy. Sunday then, two games in the league, and as I said, Coventry, well, the goal scoring seems to have dried up a little bit and shut out at home 3-0 against the Cardiff Devils. And then there was where I was on Sunday. The in the box thinking for this one is already up over on the website, banners on the wall at wordpress.com. A superb performance from a short benched Guildford side as they beat the Belfast Giants by a score of 2-1. And then there was Wednesday, because it was a better night for Belfast. A bit of a tough one. They were a goal down for quite a substantial period of this game and eventually managed to eke their way through. Jordan Kawaguchi with the game winner late in this one before an empty netter, giving the Giants the 3-1 win over Cardiff. And Guildford, well, there was nobody there. 13 skaters, 2 defensemen playing as a forward, and Justin Fazio lost to injury midway through this game when the Steelers were 4-0 to the good. A pretty comprehensive and dominant performance from Sheffield. They beat Guildford on Wednesday by a score of 5-1. So then, of course, we've got the league fixtures that are going on in the Elite League right now. As we know, Nottingham and Belfast, Dundee and Guildford, Manchester and Fife are ongoing. We'll check in with the scores with those momentarily. League fixtures on Saturday then. Nottingham take on Coventry at the Motorpoint. Cardiff host Manchester down in South Wales. And a big one that folk will have had circled on their calendar in the league campaign, because of course they don't meet in the Cup. Sheffield, Belfast at the Utilita on a Saturday night. Talk about a proper Saturday night fight night. And only one fixture in the league on Sunday, as the Steelers will head north to Kirkcaldy to take on the Fife Flyers. Now, I've not got the league table, and we don't need to look at Cup Group A because that's already decided. Sheffield and Coventry automatically through, Nottingham into the playoff game, whatever. But here is Group B of the Challenge Cup. As we can see, Belfast 15 points from 11 games. Now, the teams in Group B play 12 games. They play 12 games against each other. But as you can see there, Fife mathematically are out. Glasgow, not mathematically out of it just yet, but they would need to run the table to get that second spot for the playing game, and Dundee lose all their games. Dundee are 2 points behind Belfast with a game in hand. The final game in Group B of the Challenge Cup is is set to be on the 9th of November between the Belfast Giants and the Dundee Stars, meaning that Group B and the winner could go all the way to the wire to qualify automatically for the semi-finals of the Challenge Cup. Apologies there, a bit of a cough. Either way, that is the Elite League, meaning that we will move on and have a look at goings on from the National Division since we last joined you here on the What's Current stream. A week ago tonight, 3 games. There were 3 games in the National Division, of course, just the 1 game this evening. But a shock win. It was a proper upset klaxon before the weekend had even really got going. Bristol with a 5-2 win over Milton Keynes at the Pound over in the southwest. A huge result for Alish Padalek's side. Solway ran the champs pretty close, but unfortunately the opening night at Dumfries, the rink there having had its electrics redone, lots of things, a few bits still ongoing there as well. But the Sharks put on a show, but couldn't get the points. Leeds with a 3-2 victory up in Dumfries. And then Basingstoke, well, more eyes were on Saturday than Friday, it should be said. But Swindon are proving themselves to be real title contenders this season as they win by 7-1 at home against the Bison. Into Saturday, they're not to be for the Pitbulls as they had the long journey up in the Puppy Bowl against Sheffield, a 6-3 win for Slava Kuldakov's side. A tough night at the Sapphire for the Romford Raiders last Saturday. Hull has come in and give them an old-fashioned battering. They've been mauled by the Seahawks 7-1. And there you can see it, the first game of the new era in Basingstoke. And well, I said in my review of this game that the scoreline flatters the Phantoms, and I will stand by that. They were the better team and did deserve the victory. Not going to argue that one. They certainly are a much more direct and entertaining team under Ashley Tate. But either way, not the result that Basingstoke wanted on their opening night. But we all know that first victory will eventually come. 5-1, the Phantoms win. The first goal of the new building going to Cam Huff, and the first Bison goal going to Brendan Sellen. Swindon drop points in another game where Swindon lose out late, leading for vast swaths of this game before a late equaliser and then an overtime winner from Dom Gibai gives Milton Keynes Lightning the 2 points at home against the Wildcats in a game that you know Tim Wallace will have wanted to win. And then Solway again pushing, get a point out of it this time, but unable to get the victory as the Telford Tigers win by 6-5 after the shootout. We're then into Sunday of last week, and a big result at the Castle for Sheffield. They beat the Leeds Knights by 6-2, and it feels like Leeds have been slipping up a bit more early on than they have done in the past. But either way, of course they've got their new defenseman Matt Stauffacher gone home. Sam Dunn now on the blue line, and he got his debut later on in the week. Hull managing to get 4 points out of the weekend with a big win for them over the Telford Tigers, 5-3 for Matty Davis's side at the Wasman vs Hull Arena. And then Peterborough, well, maybe they got themselves out of puff on Saturday evening. They lose at home by 5-3 against Romford, which then, of course, as you can see, led into Wednesday night. They reversed and headed down to the Sapphire, and Romford do it again. 4 points in 4 days against the Phantoms for the Raiders. They win by 7-3. The Bison gave Milton Keynes another big scare at home. The Bison ahead multiple times in this game. And again, unfortunately for them, just ran out of puff. The MK Lightning win by 6-4 at the Thunderdome. And then Telford, who've had an okay start to the season, but they lose twice in 4 days. It was a tight one against Hull. Sheffield blow them out. 14 goals in 4 days from the Steel Dogs. They win by 8-2 on the same night the Steelers had a big victory down in Guildford. And then we have the results from last night, from Thursday. Sam Dunn's first game as a member of the Leeds Knights. And well, the fists were flying from the Seahawks, but unfortunately for them, not the goals. Leeds win by 5-1. And then in the Battle of the Southwest, a game that was scrappy, tempestuous, ultimately not one of massive quality, but good teams find a way to win, is the old adage here at BOTW. Swindon beat Bristol by 3-1. The Southwest is red to start with, at least. So looking at the league table then, in the NIHL National Division, and still there at the top, the Swindon Wildcats lead by 2 points from the Leeds Knights. A 3-point gap then from the Knights down to the Steel Dogs in third. Milton Keynes are on 15 points but have a game in hand on the Dogs. It's then Telford, Peterborough, Hull and Romford making up the playoff places early on. Bristol, Solway, and then Basingstoke at the bottom. Basingstoke have 3 games in hand on Solway and 5 games in hand on Bristol. The cup table in the National Division looks something like this though. The Dogs top at the moment, 12 points from 8, followed by MK, Swindon and Leeds as things stand. Telford have a game in hand in 5th over the Knights that could take them all the way up to 3rd if they win it, but Swindon have only played 6 cup games so far. They are much more in the driver's seat and could go top if they win their games in hand. At this point, it is very much looking like Solway and Basingstoke probably just need to leave the cup to one side. Fixtures wise, of course, we do need to look at the great bits and pieces and fantastic. Thanks as always to Max Van Mullen for his graphics. There is tonight's action, of course, 3-2 to the Steel Dogs now between them and the Solway Sharks. Nathan Ripley with a goal early in the second period to put the Steel Dogs on top there. Ooh, buttons, there we go. Saturday, then in the National Division, full five games on the docket. Basingstoke will try again for their first home win of the season. They came close in the Thunderdome on Wednesday night. They will try again this time in Basingstoke against the MK Lightning. Bristol take on Romford in a real playoff 4-pointer towards the bottom end of the table. Hull will take on Peterborough. Leeds take on Telford. Solway start their double home weekend against the Swindon Wildcats. Those two sides will meet again on Sunday at Dumfries. Elsewhere, MK will take on Sheffield. That one could be very, very interesting. Peterborough take on Hull. Romford take on Bristol. And then, as always, on a Sunday, it's going to be a 6:30 face-off. The Telford Tigers and the Leeds Knights. There we go. That's the top 2 divisions done. Let's have a quick look at the scores. I know people are very kindly putting bits and pieces in the chat for us, and we do appreciate it. Having a swig of this. I'll tell you what, I'll say this, for the end of half term, we got the takeaway in, we got slim chickens in for the boy. And I tell you what, it might just be the new favourite takeaway, it should be said. Really, really do like slim chickens. Far too many sauce choices though is the issue for that one. Right, Elite League wise, Nottingham still lead Belfast by 1-0. Still 1-0 in the second period at the DIA. Guildford still leading over Dundee. Manchester still leading Fife by 2-1. Brady Gilmore and Stephen Johnson with the goals for the Storm. Garrett Hunt has the goal for the Flyers. I know he's been a polarising figure so far across the Elite League. Has the Flyers captain. But either way, he is the one who at least has them in the running in that game at the Storm Shelter. And the ice, for the moment, has survived, so we will take that. But yeah, questions, comments, thoughts, feelings. What are we thinking so far then? Are Swindon? I said I thought Swindon were firmly in the conversation to be in the title contention this year. Are Swindon legit this year? Will they be? Will they be overhauled in the end? What are we thinking so far? Sheffield again seems to be lurching all over the place from great to terrible. Although this week they have been pretty good so far. It should be said. Not put the Elite League table in the pack yet. I won't until the cup is fully finished, because at the moment, like I say, there's so many. Belfast have only played like 4 games. It's always a bit of a mishmash. It's a bit of a mishmash really in the Elite League until that point. So just going to leave that as it stands for now. Just seeing if the wife has sent me some. Okay, so the wife has sent me a Peanuts card to look at midstream, because being, of course, it is Halloween. The Great Pumpkin is coming. The Great Pumpkin is here, of course, into the bargain. But yeah, I mean, Mark said very much so. I assume that's about Swindon being title contenders. Yeah, I mean they are starting to look like they've just got that much quality that they're in that position that I think Leeds were in sort of like a year or two ago, where they can get away now with not playing perfectly. And Dundee have equalised, which is what we don't want to see, or at least I don't want to see, because it's much more fun to commentate on when they're doing well. But ultimately, one of those things that's going to happen from time to time, because Guildford are so incredibly short-benched. The one thing we will talk about very quickly before we move on to NHL Division 1, because we do need to talk about the fact that Great Britain have announced the squad for the IIHF European Cup of Nations in Sosnowiec in Poland, coming up later in November, and it is a pretty interesting looking squad. A fact, of course, that there's some big Elite League games going on at the time, but certainly Henry Stalins, from Ice Hockey UK, the CEO, said. An important period of time for Great Britain men. Next gen players must be given the opportunity they deserve as we plan for a 4 to 8 year cycle. And so, as you can see from the squad, it's a pretty stacked squad full of guys from the Elite League, but also guys from the NIHL as well. So just looking at that squad that Pete Russell has named, two netminers named in Lucas Bryan of the Glasgow Clan, and Rennie Marr of the Swindon Wildcats gets his first ever international call-up at the age of 28. On defence, Kel Beattie, Nathaniel Halbert, Archie Hazeldine, Joe Hazeldine, Chris Inglis, Reece Kelly and Liam Steele. So some regular, more sort of top-end Elite League players in there. But of course, Kel Beattie and Liam Steele very much in the NIHL at the moment. Forward-wise, Mason Alderson, Ollie Bettridge, Kieran Brown, Bailey Harewood, Jack Hopkins, Patrick Larkin, Sam Lyne, Jonathan McBean, Logan Nielsen, Sean Norris, Cole Shudruck, Josh Waller and Kyle Watson are your forwards named to the Great Britain squad for the IIHF European Cup of Nations for men that will meet next month. Pretty crazy squad, all things by the sound of it. But ultimately for me, a massive, massive statement from Great Britain. We've talked for many, many years about the fact that this golden generation is only getting older, and those guys are stepping away from playing at that top level. At some point, you have to give youth the chance, and we've been banging on about it here for years. That you've got to give them the chance, because when you give them the opportunity, they are taking it all the way. I can see there in the chat, Jamie saying, I'd have taken Malik Markley and Rhodes Mitchell-King into the team as well. I don't necessarily disagree, but I think defence is the harder area in this one to crack. When you've got Nathaniel Halbert, Archie Hazeldine, Joe Hazeldine, Chris Inglis and Reece Kelly, are you taking Martelli and Mitchell-King over Steele and Beattie in that fray? Because ultimately, they're not gonna. I don't think they're out of the Elite League defensemen they've mentioned there. I don't know necessarily where you swap them out. I think there is much more of an argument to have taken Martelli over Steele, if I'm honest, in the immediacy. But I get the point. I do feel like was Longer in the squad? No, Mark, because Pete Russell's coaching it. The jokes write themselves. 3-3 at Ice Sheffield as the Solway Sharks have tied it up against the Sheffield Steel Dogs. I keep pressing the wrong buttons this evening. That's not going well. Morten Jurgens with that equaliser for the Stars, coming at 29.08, so just about hitting the halfway mark. I think the Flames will be happy to still be in it at this point, given at this point on Wednesday they were 4-0 down. Yes, Derek Osick is with his second goal of the night to tie things up between the Dogs and the Sharks. A nice honest appraisal there, Mark, if nothing else. But also as well, you have to remember, Longer is that little bit older. This is a squad much more looking at the youth aspect of it. And so yeah, just not one in the plans at the moment. Yeah, he has been playing D for Belfast. Yes, Gabe Bast has been out of the lineup a fair bit recently due to injury. So, and he was on defence when I commentated on the Giants on Sunday as well. It's not his natural position, but he is turning himself into the new age Tony Redmond and playing in all positions. So definitely no arguments there. Oh. It's making me think at some stage we should do another watch along. We should do another Friday sort of simulcast and just sort of sit and answer questions and all watch the same game. We should try and figure out a way to do that again. Oh, Guildford scored. We like this. But who has scored for Guildford is the question. Where's my game sheet? See, here's the really annoying thing. Here's the thing, is that when they're in the point of sort of inputting bits and pieces, it just says, you can't see that unfortunately, no, apologies, that's not going to work, is it? Just sits there as 0000000 until somebody does something about it. But it's being credited to Elliot Lewis. 31.55. It's down on the game sheet as Lewis from Marcus T-Sync from Josh Waller. And Elliot Lewis in his Elite League debut might have got himself on the score sheet. The Flames social media admin has just sent me a message just going, what a goal. Well, I can't watch it because I'm doing this. But this is the sort of thing, as I keep saying, give them the chances. Give them the chances. Because when you do, they will perform. People are now sending me messages going about it, which is what we want. What we'll try and do, because people are sending me messages there, let's get rid of that. Buttons. 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 If I do that and then I do that. We like it. Playing on D tonight as well for Belfast. I'm not going to want a third pair with Garrett McFadden. He's actually really good. Who I was really impressed with Belfast when I watched them was Mike Lee. He was incredible. He was really, really good, Mike Lee. When I watched them. We have the video. We do have the video. Let's have a look and see if we can have a look at this. See if we can get it up on momentarily. So T-Sync puts it in, and it's just a massive, massive rebound of a Cruz, and it's right there for the boy. And Elliot Lewis has a first goal in the top flight of British hockey in his first game. That is a bit... Nicky, never have to apologise, my man. You never have to apologise for these bits and pieces. You and I have known each other far too long for us to ever stand on pretense, my man. Don't you worry about that. We're just talking about the fact that Elliot Lewis has scored for Guildford to put them 2-1 up. And that is an absolute cracking goal, and just doing the really, really solid bit of work from Elliot to get himself on the score sheet. What we will try and do, let's click some buttons, because what I should be able to do is I can quickly hop into my own chat. If I do this, and what I'll do is I'll put that there, and then you can all watch it. And watch it there, and then you can all have a look at that. That is one way. He is, unfortunately, he's far too handsome for his own good, is Elliot. But delighted to see him getting stuck in today. Also, if nothing else, Dave, who's the commentator for Dundee, there is an Elite League commentators WhatsApp group, and I pinged him a message saying, if you need anything on Elliot Lewis ahead of tonight, please let me know. Happily, I'll hand you all the details. And I sent him this massive voice note of all of these random bits of facts. I'm just happy he got to use them. But yes, fantastic bit of news, and a young British player taking his opportunities where they come. Now, can he get another? Is the key question on that one. But either way, smiles all round for the moment for the folk from the Spectrum, as the Flames 2-1 up now against the Dundee Stars. What I need to do is do that. There we go. Let me just make sure nothing else ridiculous has happened. I do feel slightly vindicated, because I was singing his praises all afternoon, and he's gone and done that. Cheers, lad. We'll just have a quick look as well. So just move that off the game sheet there. So yes, we see 2-1. Yeah, officially credited as Lewis. Lewis from T-Sync from Waller. Nottingham still 1-0 up. Manchester still 2-1 up as well. As what we need to do, we need to hit this button here. We'll do it the NHL Division 1 and Division 2 very quickly first, and then we'll have a look at the SNL we'll have a look at the SNL after that and kind of do all of those sort of third tier leagues all together in one shot. And well, I don't want to say it's alarm stations up at the forum at the moment, but this was a weekend to forget for the Billingham Stars because they had home and home against Solihull, and as you can see there, absolutely tonked. 6-0 down just early on in the third period. 4 goals from Nicholas Otterson and 2 from Edgars Landsbergs before Billingham even got on the board through Michael Elder. Jacob Race with the last goal there, but an absolute domination job from Phil Lee's side. 7 goals on 40. Mark Turnbull was still making 40 saves in this game. But just not to be for them. Big win as well for the Hull Jets, beating the Deeside Dragons at the world's most versatile arena. Hull 4-1 up. They nearly chucked it away. As you can see there, Jay Witkowski and Colin Cromie with 2 goals inside the last 28 seconds, but too little, too late for Michael Clancy's side. The damage already done. Hull were 3-0 up by the 25-minute mark in this one. And the Sheffield Scimitars, well, it just gets worse and worse. They get in one of those games that you would have circled at the beginning of the season as a big one, another 6-pointer at the bottom when it comes to the playoffs. And the Leeds Knights absolutely blow them away. It was 1-1 after just 8 minutes. Jake Wigington and Marcus Thacker cancelling each other out. But then the Knights went on an absolute tear, scoring 9 unanswered goals to put them well beyond contention in this one. Marcus Thacker and Jacob Scott with the goals for the Scimitars. A hat-trick for Curtis Balmanis and a hat-trick as well for Dara Spafforth for Knights 2. Helgi Bjarnason, Jake Wigington, Owen Dell and Fritz Heinzler with the other goals in this one. As you can see there, some pretty terrifying numbers. Although congratulations to Elliot Roussan, 10 shots, 10 saves for him in his 11 minutes and 37 seconds of action. And, well, it didn't get any better for the Scimitars the next night. 12 games played, 12 games lost as they keep it closer, but end up still losing to the Leeds Knights 2. The Knights 4-0 up by 25-17 in this one. They're eventually running out 5-2 winners. Ben Cutts and Sam Keeling with the goals for the Scimitars in this one. Another 2 goals on the weekend for Kurtz Balmanis, Tom Dermott, Jake Wigington and Dara Spafforth with 1 goal and a 5-point night for him, meaning of course he had a hand in all the goals. It's been a pretty impressive campaign from Spafforth so far since moving across from Blackburn. The Dragons, though, they got a measure of revenge against the Hull Jets, losing in Hull, but they win in North Wales. 2 goals from Bailey Thomas and Colin Cromie doing the damage there. A goal late in the second from Ian Kerman got Hull within touching distance, and a few late penalties as well. Ross Kennedy taking 4 minutes worth of penalties in the third that gave the Jets chances, but ultimately at the end, Tyler Delabatouche shuts the door. 26 saves on 27 shots from the Londoner, gets the Welsh team the full points. And then, as we can see there, Solihull, they condemn Billingham to a 4th loss in a row. The Stars are at 4-4 after 8 games. The Barons are at 8-1, 4-2 in the end. The win in this one for Solihull. Ian Brown and James Moss with the goals for the Stars. Alex White, Matt Maurice, Jacob Race, and a third of the season for Australian import Jake Riley gives the Barons a 6-point weekend against the reigning league champions. Blackburn, well, they only had the 1 game this weekend, and Luca, I don't know if you're still lurking around, so you can tell us what you thought of this one, young man. But either way, a 4-1 win for the Hawks. Jacob Lutwidge, James Riddick, Liam Charnock and Andy McKinney all on the score sheet for Dominic Osman's side. AJ Herring, 2 goals in 2 games for him for the Wild. A pretty good start to life in Division 1 for the Peterborough Phantoms prospect. How did our friend Luca do? I mean, 46 saves, Luca's not terrible. You can have that one, all things considered. Harrison Walker has 24 from 25. And then the Nottingham Lions, who offer up an absolute bevy of madness as ever. And of course, Alex Rushby scored, because that's what Alex Rushby does. He scores 2 of the Lions' 4 goals. Unfortunately, they shipped 10 on the day. Charles Owen and Regan Kidd with the other goals for the Lions. For Tigers too, who really have been the surprise package of the season so far with that ridiculous top line. 2 goals for Dan Harrison, 2 for Dan Mitchell, a 7-point night for Vladimir Luka as he goes 2+5. The other goals coming from Finn Howells, who was 1+6, Jason Silverthorne, Brady Jessen and Taylor Stanton. We'll just have a quick squiz at the goalie numbers there, and as you can see, Matt Byrne, not much to do. Isaac Ballinger and Evan Coles, busier, shall we say. Either way, this coming weekend, a pretty full docket of fixtures in North 1. Telford Tigers 2 will take on the D-side Dragons. Given how free scoring both sides can be, that should be a very entertaining one at the Telford at 6 p.m. on Saturday. Solihull versus Blackburn, a massive game at the top end of the table now, as 2 of the title challengers will go head-to-head at Hobbsmoat Road. Billingham look to get back on the horse, but they will have to travel to Widnes to do it as they take on the Wild, and then the Sheffield Scimitars with a huge chance to finally get in the winning column. 12 games played, 12 defeats. Can they get their first point of the season against the Nottingham Lions on Saturday at Sheffield? On Sunday, Telford and Deeside will about face and head to Queensferry. That's a 5:15 face-off in North Wales. Billingham take on Nottingham, Widnes take on Leeds 2, and Blackburn versus Sheffield. If Sheffield get points out of that one, I'll give money to charity. That's pretty much all I can say on that front there. Very busy night, to be honest. Blackburn are just very good. Doesn't help. We had a 5-minute kill against them lot. Yeah, I think you should ban them. I think you should ban your defence from taking your outskates from taking silly penalties, Luca. Yes, hello Simon. Live indeed. Yes. It's usually on a Wednesday, but somebody had me much busier on Wednesday. I had them 4th before the season. Well, Billingham, I think you did have them quite low down. It's the fact they've just not really replaced some of the people at the bottom end. I think is really the some of those D players they've not managed to replace. Obviously losing Tommy Spraggan, you know they've done their usual thing. They've kept with their philosophy and promoted from within, but you've lost Tommy Spraggan into the bargain. Into South 1 and a huge win for Swindon Wildcats 2. Now, of course, this is a Solent Devils side that had one training session at Ozone on that 3-on-3 rink because of the issues with the ice at Gosport. And another big issue, of course, was losing Mark Pitts, taking a stick to the eye. He's had surgery relatively recently. From what we understand, a full recovery incoming, say the Devils. But it will take some time for him to be back to full, take the time to get back to full fitness. Solent were 2-1 up early in the third period. 2 goals from Liam Coleman and that 1 goal from Luca Kirk-Brown had the score at 2-1. But then late goals, Jake Williams, former Oxford City star, scoring on the power play, and then the goal 23 seconds from time. Jan Kostel Jr., who made his National Division debut last night for the Wildcats, from Jan Kostel Sr., short-handed at 59.37, and the Wildcats head back to Wiltshire with the full 3 points. Challenge Cup action on Saturday evening. Of course, we send our best out to Harry Hatfield. He took a skate to the face, taking a man out and giving away a penalty shot in this one. As you can see there, 45.05. So he ended up taking BS as he dove to the ice to stop the man from getting a scoring opportunity. He took a skate blade right across his face. If you're not squeamish, you can head over to 4,000 and counting and go and see the photographs from that one. But this one ends up going all the way to overtime. Lewis English and Brandon Miles' goals cancelled out by Vanya Antonov and Ethan Lane. Antonov missing that penalty shot, and it ends up costing the Redhawks in Challenge Cup action as they take a penalty late in the piece in regulation. It carries over into overtime, and Juhal Lindgren is set up for the game winner to take the points in that Challenge Cup encounter. Into Sunday then, and something of a local derby. One person who didn't play in this game was Dynamo's captain Aaron Connolly. Congratulations to him and his wife Gemma on the birth of their second child. But it did mean that the Dynamos were without their captain heading into this one, and the Chieftains end up taking it in overtime. A close fought game in the end, but one that the Chieftains end up getting the nod. Grant Bartlett, the man with the overtime winner, to add on to his goal that he got in regulation. Other goals for the Chieftains in that one from Cam Bartlett and Tom Saw. Goals for the Dynamos coming from Mads Toon, Jacob Ranson, and a first goal in Dynamo's colours for Luca Pascali. And then a 6-point weekend for the Swindon Wildcats. They probably wouldn't have banked on it, but they do manage to get it anyway as they take on, as we will see, another short benched effort from the Romford Buccaneers. There's the sheer gulf in difference of numbers there. But ultimately, the Wildcats have proven this season that they are no pushovers, that they will turn up and they will cause problems for anyone and everyone. Charlie Turner, Sam Rye, Jay Warren, Josh Burnett, and 2 goals from Jan Kostel Jr. For the Cats. The lone goal for the Buccaneers coming from Artyom's Kazakhs. Ooh, just knocked my computer flying. Always a really good idea there. As we can see there, our boy Max, 39 saves. Not terrible in that one, on the boy. 2 games on Saturday in South 1. League and Cup action between Romford and Streatham at the Sapphire. Challenge Cup action at the Hangar. Slough take on Invicta. Sunday, Invicta will head home. They are in league action against the informed Swindon Wildcats 2. Challenge Cup action at the Riverside between Chelmsford and Slough. And then a league fixture on the High Road. Streatham versus Solent. Always a game of high entertainment value. This is the latest I've been told. Not sure I mentioned it, but Oscar Sager made his National League debut last week with an assist. Yes, I've mentioned Jan Kostel Jr., but not Oscar, so that's my bad. See, no ice time for Yanni, but this is why I love watching the two. It's a complete side, great guys in junior system working greatly. So they called him up to not use him. I hate this. I always hate it when they do this. It's his debut, but if you don't play, what's the point? Put him on the ice for like 20 seconds. You can't do that much damage. Especially if you're playing for Swindon against Bristol. We'll move then quickly, as we need to keep bashing through, into North 2. And, well, the ever fantastic 12 p.m. face-off at the Wellsmith versus Hull Arena did not bode well for the Kingston Sharks. D-side Dragons 2 with a big win, just their second of the season, as they win by 8-3 over in Yorkshire, having travelled the literal width of the country. But a good solid win there for Dragons 2, who've had a tough start to the season. Hat-trick for Noah Percival in this one, 2 for James Shaw, and goals from James Parsons, Liam Yarwood, and Cody Ogden. 2 assists in this one from Cameron Krishnarenko, who made his Dragons debut last weekend. Goals for the Sharks from Charlie Powell, Ethan Daintith, and Tom Mardell. And then more goals as the Sheffield Titans, who have been really one of the big stories in North 2 so far this season. We wondered who would challenge Sutton, and it appears the answer's coming from within Ice Sheffield itself. An 11-4 win away at Altrincham. Now, Altrincham fluctuate a little bit in their form. We've seen that over the last couple of years, but the Titans, I don't know what's gotten into the Titans this year, but they have been a completely revitalised and revamped team. 75 shots in this game. 2 goals for Sam Parkin, 2 for Reece Wickens, 2 for Alfie Longmate, and 2 for Harry Roebuck. Goals as well from Josh Rawsthorne, Noah Barnes, and Tom Humphreys. Goals for the Aces coming from Sam Dunford, Brad Chapman, Corey Swift, and Ollie Gotts. As we just look at Bailey Hodgkinson in net for the full 60, 11 goals on 75 shots, 64 saves. Fair play, that man. If he didn't get to the beers, I don't know what to tell you. And then there's this, because this was a much closer encounter. Challenge Cup only, this one. But where everybody else seems to have bothered scoring, Coventry and Billingham decided to turn up with a defence, apparently. And the Blaze sneak out of Saturday with the points in the Challenge Cup. A 2-1 win in the shootout over the Billingham Buccaneers. Arthur Brooks and Sam Dowd cancelling each other out before Harrison Sumner getting the nod in the shootout and scoring the winner there. The Blaze putting up, as we can see there, 70 shots to 34 over their visitors from Teesside. The Buccaneers, though, did get something out of the weekend. This is from Sunday, not Saturday. They didn't play twice in opposite ends of the country. That would have been very hard. But either way, they get a 5-1 win over the Kingston Sharks to send the whole side to a 0-point weekend in that one. Simon Geldart, Dan Capel, Sam Dowd, Stuart Jackson, and Matt Pickup with the goals for the Bucks. Declan Kine with the lone goal in this one for the Sharks. As you can see there, South shooting 63 to 26. So even if the defences aren't there, the shooting definitely is. The Titans again, they put up 16 goals in two. Put up the better and more goals, 8 goals. on Sunday against Bradford in the Yorkshire Derby. Another ridiculous performance from the Titans, who now move to 9-2 after 11 games. Bradford with just the one win on the season so far. David Williams and Josh Stockton with the goals for Andy Brown's side. The Titans getting their goals, 2 from Harry Illingworth, and then goals from Joe Gray, Tom Humphreys, Ethan Jones, Harry Roebuck, Luke Reed, and Noah Barnes. And for those of you who've been tuning in over the course of the season, I think this is the thing that we're kind of seeing for the with the Titans here. They're getting goals from across the lines, and that's the terrifying bit about this. That they are getting they're getting production from everybody. Where the Scimitars in D1 are getting production from like 2 or 3 people. You can see here 8 goals from 7 goal scorers. And yes, D2 is a completely different beast. North 2 feels like the top is closer to the bottom than in South 2. South 2 feels like a tent so wide it's like a wedding marquee. But in the North, it does feel like it's the teams are a little bit closer together in terms of quality. So to be able to get real production across the lines from the Titans, massive thing. Got the video if you need it, mate. Now it's all right on that one, Nicky. I'd much rather just kind of share the love around and send bits and pieces each other's way. 3-3 at Sheffield at the end of 40 minutes. We'll just have a quick look at the scores elsewhere. Elliot Lewis currently has the game-winning goal in Dundee for Guildford. 1-0 Nottingham against Belfast in the third. 2-1 Manchester still. That lone goal for the Panthers coming from Chase Pearson in the first period. Someone just sent me a message. Did that new two-way score? A new two-way score, like you said, like he magicked out of thin air. The fact he's been battling away and playing in Gosport, in Bristol, played 9 games for Basingstoke, playing for Milton Keynes. Like people, this is the thing. People seem to think that people magically appear from thin air. That's not how that works. But either way, all things going well on that one. His Jan's own words, that's hockey. Felt for him, but that's the way the game is going. Bristol would probably have done something stupid to change the tone of the game or something. Or he'd have skated past him and score. That's probably the other thing that could have potentially happened. As we've seen, give the youngsters the opportunities and they do something with it. Carrying on though, as we were in North 2, Altrincham get battered on the Saturday, but they do manage something out of the Sunday. They beat the Nottingham Lions 2 by 5-2 at the NIC. Billy King, Malachi Budd, Dylan Harcourt and 2 from Josh Milnes, including the empty netter at the end of time, giving the Aces the 3 points in this one. Ben Baker and Jake Fisher with the goals for the Lions in this one. Not a ton of games in North 2 this weekend. 2 on Saturday, Sutton versus Nottingham at 4:20 at Sheffield, and Altrincham versus Billingham in Manchester at 6:15 on Saturday. 3 games in on the Sunday. The Titans, what can't they do, it seems, this weekend? They get the Nottingham Lions at 4:50 at Sheffield. Bradford take on the Coventry Blaze at 5:30, and also at 5:30 at the Worldsmiths Versatile Arena. A much more regular time for the Sharks to be facing off. Not a midday face-off for them this time. But they do have a pretty big task in the form of the Sutton Sting. And then into South 2, and no, your eyes do not deceive you. Lee Valley didn't just win in the Eddie Joseph Memorial Cup. They take points in the league and give the Slough Spitfires a kicking, an absolute kicking in this one. Obviously, the Spitfires, a very new team, lots of young players in it, and that's absolutely fine. But they, did some really good stuff. Beat Haringey, ran Haringey close, and all these bits and pieces. And then they go to Lee Valley and come unstuck. Alan Kafizov, Jordan Sullivan, Alex Nozinov, second of the night from Jordan Sullivan, and 2 from Nathan Awayemi give the Lions their first win in the league this season. Felix Hemmings-Marr, the lone goal in this one for the Spitfires. Ethan Frayne making 55 saves in the win. Another one where you just have to look at that and just go, fair play. At the other end of the table, one of the teams that is definitely going to be up there for the league title, Peterborough Phantoms 2, give Bristol an absolute walloping, an 8-2 victory for the Phantoms in this one. AJ Herring having scored for Widnes, also scoring for Peterborough this weekend, and another pretty dominant performance from another pretty dominant performance from Nathan Pollard's side. Goals from Nick Martin, James White, AJ Herring, Leo Markey, Jordan Liddell, Connor Mellett, and 2 from Bradley Wright. The goals for the Pitbulls in this one coming from Caden Hughes and the evergreen Ollie Schoen. The golden rule, of course, the golden rule is DBAD, and the second rule of BOTW is do not count out the Invicta Mustangs. They win in the shootout in the derby against the Chelmsford Warriors down in Gillingham. All the goals coming in the third period. Chelmsford going 1-0 up at 51-19 through George Beckett. Jake Stedman, so often a big player for the Mustangs, ties things up less than a couple of minutes later. And James Lamy with the shootout winner gets the Mustangs the extra points in the league standings there. As you can see, a quiet night really, all things considered, for Kieran Wyatt, but Caleb Sheehan putting on a real show there, a 49 save performance from the Warriors netminder. And unfortunately for Lee Valley, no 6-point weekend for them, because they gave Slough kicking and then had to go against Peterborough, and all things considered, that was always going to be a pretty tough ask. 2 goals from Nathan Pollard, as well as goals from James White, Jaden Eggleston and Brad Wright. The lone goal for the Lions in this one coming from Vilius Krakauskas. But yes, a valiant effort from the Lions in a game where a lot of people would have guessed they might have been going into double figures of goals. Luke Clark only faces 16 shots. Ethan Frayne makes 45 saves from 50. The Spitfires, though, overcame their nightmare of Saturday to give Chelmsford a solid seeing off on the Sunday. 7-1 the Spitfires win back at the confines of the hangar. Just the lone goal for the Warriors coming from Sam Austin. 2 goals from Harvey Harmon and 2 goals from Tristan Dibdin. Goals as well from Himran Ross, Ed Cave Humphrey and Louis Nicholson for the Spitfires. There is nothing here from the Cardiff Canucks versus the Solent Junior Devils, so we know the Canucks won by 5 goals to 3. The words from Joe Scutts on this one was, when you get to the Canucks game sheet, it's missing. I bought this up with the powers that be and have heard nothing all week. So that's what we do on that one. So who scored? Lord knows. Goals were scored by Cardiff and goals were scored by Solent, and Cardiff scored more than Solent. Peterborough managed to get 2 wins out of the weekend, and the Guildford Phoenix keep hot on their heels. They remain perfect, as do the Phantoms too, through this weekend of action. But the Phoenix with a pretty comfortable 8-3 win away at the Oxpens against the Rising Stars, who dropped to 1-5 on the season so far. 8-3 the final score. Phoenix with 75 shots through the 60 minutes. Mike Willock, Griff Eden Parish and Matt Lorday with the goals for the Rising Stars. Goals for the Phoenix, 2 from Scott Bailey, 2 from Monty Gaylor, and goals from Sol Stoodley, Josh Sherrington, Ollie Dennis and Luke Tull. Oscar Minton getting time in net. We like this one. Kayla Poole, bless her, makes 67 saves. Fair play again. That's all you can say in those kind of moments. And having gotten their first win, in the division the other week, MK have their second win in South 2, and they knock off the Haringey Huskies, who dropped to 3, 1 and 4 in their record. It's not been a very good start for the Huskies. They just don't seem to be able to get the consistency of previous years. Haringey 2-0 up as well. William Novick and Carl Etizim with the goals for them. But then the Thunder come roaring back. Mark Austin and Marks Canis tie the game up at 2 before Ryan Wanfort and a second from Canis make it 4-2 early in the third. Etizim makes it 4-3, but the Thunder hold on and get their second win in the division. Alfie Duguid getting the win in net on that one. South 2, then, this upcoming weekend, 3 games on Saturday, all in the League and Cup. Chelmsford versus Solent, Guildford versus Haringey, which will be a very interesting one given the Huskies' recent form, and Peterborough Phantoms 2 versus the Invicta Mustangs. Never count out the Invicta Mustangs. Then 3 on Sunday, Cardiff take on Slough, which will be a really interesting game. That is league only. The others are League and Cup between the Oxford Rising Stars and Bristol Pitbulls 2 versus Peterborough Phantoms 2, as the Pitbulls look for revenge after last weekend's defeat. The Mustangs-Chelmsford game, according to my dad, apparently the only clean glass smashed in the game, so it ended the period early, and then the Zamboni broke down, leaving a massive hole in the ice, taking an hour for everything to repair just before starting the second period, and that caused my dad to have a parking fine. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry, Franco. But yeah, I'm sorry, Luca, to your dad. I shouldn't laugh, but that is objectively hilarious. I need to buy more of these. I genuinely am not a big fan of Radlers, but these are really, really good. A goal for the Giants. Major penalty in the Nottingham Belfast game. Panthers 98 boarding after video review. Panthers fans unhappy with the decision. Well, that is not a huge surprise that they would be unhappy with such things. So let's quickly pull up the game sheet there. I will refresh. Well, the Giants' goal's not come up yet. 98 is Diedrich Henbrandt, so he's been thrown out for boarding by the look of it. If I press game sheet, is the game sheet going to come up? But yeah, I'm so sorry to your dad. How much is the parking fine in that place? What, 60? Definitely, I know it's not super cheap, but yeah, also it's ridiculous the fact that the poor guy's there enough. The fact that we end up with a parking fine is just horrible. All things considered there. Either way, we need to keep rolling, because what we need to do is have a quick look at the SNL from last weekend. A pretty busy Saturday, all in all. And look, Whitley, you can play at home on a Saturday. What a surprise that is. Either way, a few games all around. Another win on the board for the Solway Sharks SNL after recent controversy, shall we say. But of course, they did get their first win at home against Whitley before losing to Paisley the next day. But they bit another one towards the bottom of the table. A big game in the context of the playoffs for the Sharks, winning by 4 goals to 1 against North Ayr. Edinburgh keep up their unbeaten record, winning by 4 goals to 2 against the Dundee Rockets at Murrayfield. Whitley will batter Kilmarnock, but unfortunately everybody seems to batter Kilmarnock. I need to make contact with those guys, because I've been given some details to get a hold of them. And a really tight one up in Aberdeen, but the Kirkcaldy Kestrels head back to Fife with a 2-1 victory and points on the board there. And then, as you can see, a hell of a game up in Dundee on the Sunday. Rockets 4, Caps 5 in OT. A huge win there as well. A bad weekend though for the Aberdeen Lynx as they lose both games. Paisley taking more points with a 6-5 victory against the Lynx. That then gives us the SNL table as it stands. He says, waiting for the picture to adjust itself on my screen, because it's there for you, but it wasn't there for me. Either way, Edinburgh still the only undefeated team in the division still. 8 from 8, 16 points, and 33 goals scored in those 8 games. It's been a pretty solid start, all things considered, for the Caps, and still pulling in the big crowds as well. Whitley in second place. They played 9 games, but of course have those 2 losses on their record. Paisley and Kirkcaldy have played 2 more games than Whitley and 3 more than Edinburgh. The Pirates on 14, the Kestrels on 12. Dundee have played 8 games. They have 11. They have 11 points. Aberdeen in 6th. Solway then in 7th. We've got 3 wins on the season, up to 6 points. North Ayr still with their lone win, and then of course our friends from Kilmarnock given an absolute kicking again. 9 games played, 9 defeats, and a goal difference as it stands as minus 112 through 9 games. Dundee have scored, which is sad. That means that Elliot Lewis is going to have to score again to have the game winner. Nicholas Gay with the equalising goal, supposedly for the Giants, when that thing eventually ticks through. If Dundee have scored, it's not made it onto that bit then. If I click the game sheet, because I've got the game sheet up from Dundee. Everything's moving too slow. But either way, Elliot Lewis scored, so we will take that. But yes, and thanks to Jamie there for that one. Nicholas Gay with the equaliser for Belfast in that one. Well, and have a quick look at the fixtures this upcoming weekend in the SNL. Saturday, well, they lost 15-2 in Whitley. Can they do anything different at the Galleon as Kilmarnock take on Whitley? North Ayr host the Capitals in the Scottish Cup, and the Aberdeen Lynx will try again with the Kirkcaldy Kestrels. On Sunday, Dundee host Solway. Paisley host Edinburgh. Could be Paisley have been pretty solid at home this year. Could be a potential really big banana skin for Edinburgh if they're wanting to make sure that they do not slip up and drop points to ruin their perfect start. We'll then have a look at the WNIHL as we round out the rest of the results. Only games in the WNIHL Elite. It was only 2 from Saturday, and a first win back in the Elite League for the Bristol Huskies. They win by 2-0 against the Streatham Storm. And then a statement from the Queen Bees, having lost the league title to the Solihull Vixens last year. The Bees head north into the Midlands, and the Solihull Vixens are shoved firmly back into the Warren. A 7-1 win for the Queen Bees. Otto Nieminen with that goal for the Stars from Yamamoto. Fair enough. So the WNIHL Elite looks like this, as the Queen Bees are starting to come within range of the Whitley Bay Beacons, games in hand and only 2 points behind. Guildford in third, Solihull now down in fourth with a 1-2 record. Bristol finally on the ball. They have 2 points but have a far worse goal difference. Streatham have played 5 games. They only have 2 points but have a -13 goal difference. The South London side now at the bottom of the WNIHL Elite Division. Just looking at that as well, Andrew's put the bits in the chat there. Goals for the Huskies coming from Katie Edgington and Becky Inker. Gemma Davies getting the shutout and the player of the game. And Isabel Whiteley getting the player of the game for the Streatham Storm. Elsewhere from last weekend in the WNIHL, it was a pretty big game, a pretty big weekend for the Caledonia Steel Queens. 2 away games on the weekend, winning on the Saturday away at the Sheffield Shadows by a score of 8-3, and then beating the Widnes Wild on Merseyside by 7-1 to take all the points back to Scotland. In one South, the Fire Bees emulated the Queen Bees. They got a win on the road, beating the Chelmsford Cobras by 2-1 over in Essex. Swindon Topcats, though, they were not giving anything away to their visitors, beating Streatham Storm 2 by a score of 9-1. In North 2, in the Valerie Conference, a tie in Lancashire, the Blackburn Hawks and the Whitley Bay Beacons drawing 2 apiece, but nothing to be done in the Yorkshire derby over at I Sheffield. Shadows 2 shut out at home by Kingston Diamonds 2 by a score of 3-0. In the Elizabeth Conference, the Manchester Storm absolutely merciless in the Lancashire-Yorkshire derby. They put 14 goals on the Leeds Thorns. There we go. Into South 2 then, in the Valerie Conference, pretty comprehensive win at Ali Pally for the Haringey Greyhounds. They beat the Oxford Midnight Stars by 9-1. Cardiff knock off the Slough Sirens by 7-3, and the only away win of the weekend in the division came in Chelmsford. The Pythons losing out to the Solent Amazons, the Gosport side taking the win by 2-1. In the Elizabeth Conference, just the one game, and honours even between Bristol Huskies 2 and the Coventry Phoenix, a 1-1 tie at the Pound in Bristol. Under 16s North had a couple of games. Nothing in under 16 South this weekend that I could find. Sheffield Shadows winning in Scotland against the Caledonia Iron Maidens by 7-4. A much more comprehensive scoreline the other way. D-side beating Kingston Diamonds in the under 16s by 13-2. Has that moved on? No, it has not. I keep going too far. There we go. I've got everything the wrong way round. What have I done there? Too many buttons. I'm pressing too many things and things are going skew. There we go. Fixtures. This coming Saturday, this weekend in the WNIHL Elite League. One game on the Saturday. Whitley Bay will take on Streatham. That is a 12 p.m. face-off at Hillheads. Ouch if you're Streatham. And then on Sunday, a 6:25 p.m. face-off. A big game for the Solihull Vixens. They need to get points on the board if they want to keep up their title defence. They take on the Bristol Huskies at 6:25. One game this weekend in One North. The Caledonia Steel Queens took all the points on the road last weekend. They head home on Saturday to take on the Kingston Diamonds. In One South, the Cambridge Kodiaks back in action. They will see if they can stop the Swindon Topcats' good run of form. In 2 North, in the Valerie Conference, Whitley Bay 2 take on Sheffield 2. That's Sunday at Hillheads. And in the Valerie Conference in the South, Slough Sirens versus Haringey is Saturday at 1:15. Sunday, 6:15 p.m. down in Gosport for the Solent Amazons and the Oxford Midnight Stars. In the Elizabeth Conference in the South, 2 games. One on Saturday, that's Invicta versus Bristol Huskies 2. And then one on Sunday, Coventry Phoenix versus Cambridge Kodiaks 2. And then 1 game in the respective divisions of the under-16s. The one in the North is Sunday at midday, Whitley Bay versus Leeds. 1 on Sunday at 10 to 6, Swindon Top Kittens versus the Chelmsford Rattlesnakes. We have more goals. Ivan Björklund-Nordstrom on the board for the Sheffield Steel Dogs. They lead by 4 goals to 3. And that second goal for the Stars has now been credited to, he says, quickly double checking what's on the game sheet. It's still saying Nieminen on the game sheet from Keanu Yamamoto at the moment, it should be said. Mark, just looking at that. But a 3rd goal for Manchester against the Fife Flyers. Brady Gilmore on the score sheet again, as the Flyers now lead by 3 goals to 1 at home. I'm having a really fat-fingered night, and I don't like it. Yeah, Nieminen from Yamamoto is the one at the moment. No, it's no dramas, Mark. It's no dramas, buddy. It's no dramas. We're all here for fun. Either way, we have gone through every single game that has been played from the Wednesday before last until tonight. We have covered absolutely everything in British hockey, from the Elite League to the National to 1 to 2, North, South to Scotland in the SNL and across the WNIHL. Everything has been covered. The door is open. Talk about anything that you want. Anything in the comments. Questions, comments, thoughts, feelings. Stick it in the chat. We'll chat about it. We've got about sort of 10 minutes left of the show. And then we will head and then get ourselves a few more adult beverages to see ourselves through Friday evening. You may have also noticed as well, we have new glasses. Prescription. It was time for an eye test. My prescription has slightly changed. Apparently, I'm going from short-sighted to long-sighted very, very slowly. So technically, my eyesight has actually gotten better, but it will apparently get much worse from what my optician said. I'm not going blind or anything like that, but apparently you get more long-sighted the older you get, and I'm short-sighted, so my eyes are actually changing on that front. It's been a week of glasses. What are your thoughts about the new Basingstoke rink now that you've been in it and seen the game? It's very much a work in progress still, Mark. I know Nikki, I don't know whether Nikki's still lurking around, but I know Nikki's going for the first time tomorrow. You're going for the first time tomorrow. It still feels like the Basingstoke Arena, but a few large things have changed. For people who remember, the cafe downstairs is now gone. That's skate higher. All of the cafe functions are upstairs in the old bar. What was Little Frankie's is going to be the new bar, but that was not open. On Saturday night last week when we were all there. Things felt all right. The toilet provision seemed to be a little bit strange. The toilets upstairs were not working, so it was sort of porta cabins outside for the toilets. The Bison are back in their old dressing room under the seats on the old away block that was sort of condemned for so long. Brendan Sullivan looks like a good pick for the Bison. Was impressed by him on Wednesday night. He looks ridiculous, Jamie. He looks very, very good. You can see the quality that's in him. I'm interested to see a lot more of Luke Spadafora now that the Bison are having the opportunity to train more. When I'd watched video of him, he looked a little bit lost, and it might have just been a fact that he just hadn't got his legs under him properly. The thing for the Bison is just that the chemistry is not there because they've not had the opportunity to train and build that up. Now that that's going to now that they can get into the rink, now that they can properly train a couple of times a week, it's going to start coming for them. And Selham, though, like you say, Brendan Selham looks a cut above. My worry was who they were going to put him with, because they put him last Saturday with Zach Milton and Will Stead, and it just didn't quite work. Whereas during the week against MK, they put him with Spadafora and Milton, and it appears to work better. Great pick, Selham. The import D-man is quality too. Shankar looked all right. He did gas out, and he was pretty responsible for being out of position for the Phantom second goal that's scored by Morgan Clark-Pizzo. Just the wrong, lets Clark-Pizzo get the wrong side of him, and he just has a tap in because Max Wright is only human. But yes, I'm very impressed with Selham. Evan North as well. Really impressed with Evan North. Really good energy player. Really, really excited to see him get some more some more ice time. And I must confess as well, the sentimental side of me, it's really nice seeing Ty Cathcart in a Bison jersey after so long, of course, having come up through the system. Oh, apologies, had a message. There we go. But yeah, so yeah, obviously would be nice. It's now blimey. It's now 6-3. It's now 6-3 Sheffield. They've scored 2 goals in very, very short order. Walker Summer at 46.09, followed by Jonathan Kirk at 46.43. The Steel Dogs are starting to turn it on again. Are they going to put up another 8 spot for the second time in a week? We will find out, I think, momentarily, because there's still the better part of 14 minutes worth of that game to do something with. Watching Peterborough, it's very much a Slava-built team being coached slightly differently. Now, of course, we've seen a little bit today. Dundee have scored again, which is very, very sad. This is probably Guildford gassing themselves out. But yeah, we've seen certainly with the Phantoms, it is a Slava recruited team. There is a lot of Slava still in it, but they play a much more. They certainly against the Bison played a much more direct style, and then they just when the Bison started chasing the game, they did do the sit back and hit on the counter. But what else are you to do on that front? Like I say, 5-1 flatters the Phantoms a bit, but it should be said that the Bison didn't embarrass themselves, but they were gassed by about the 35-minute mark, and there's only so much you can do at that point. With game fitness, this team is going to cause a lot of problems. What I think the Bison can probably aim for is a bit of what Telford did last year, hitting a point and just running really, really hard, get into the playoffs and work it that way. Because I think that team, from what I've seen, has got the quality to do it at national division level. What else do we need to make sure that you're aware of what else is kind of going on? Like I say, if you've not already, check out the Hockey Stories piece with Jordan Kelsall. Really, really fascinating to see a hockey player, because hockey players are a bit of a stereotype, right? They like certain things. So to see a hockey player talk with such enthusiasm and passion about something that is a little bit different, that you don't necessarily expect, is really, really interesting. And I think that's kind of what I really like doing with Hockey Stories. Now, obviously, a bunch of different places do a bunch of different interviews, and I don't necessarily think everybody is very, very good at doing interviews, because there's a lot of people doing a lot of the same thing. A lot of this sort of how's the season going? Let's talk about your hockey career. And I get why people do that, because it's the sort of things, like I always say, interview about the stuff that you're interested in. And actually, a lot of people are interested in this kind of stuff, but it's not all. But if everyone's doing one thing, I kind of want to look at something else, because for me, having done so many of them in the past, I don't want to keep doing them forever. And yes, of course, in my chat with Jordan, we talk about how the season's going so far, but I think there's something to be said about kind of contextualising the people and the person. And actually, we do put hockey players up on a bit of a pedestal, forgetting sometimes that they're human beings, and having a player who has a different hobby and a different interest. Talking to hockey players about playing golf. Well, firstly, I'd bore myself because I don't like golf. So finding a hockey player whose real kind of passion outside of the sport is something that actually takes a lot of thought and a lot of emotion, just like hockey. But there are a few parallels as to how you approach it. And I think it's a really, really interesting piece. And like I say, it's a fascinating look at a guy who's been heavily involved in the sport for the better part of a decade. He's got a long road left to run. Jordan Kelsall's 26. Now Yamamoto scored, Mark. Oh, thanks for that. Now we've got that one. Brilliant stuff. Yes, Keanu Yamamoto from Matthew Boudin's from Otto Nieminen as the Flames were hanging around for a bit. And unfortunately, like I say, the big issue for the Flames is that there's so few bodies, everyone's just getting tired. Oh, apologies there. And that one had a nice big swig of that one. Let's have a look at Elliot Lewis. So we are about sort of 49 minutes in. Elliot Lewis has had 12 minutes and 15 seconds of ice time, which is the lowest on the Flames, it should be said. But in his first Elite League game, 12-15, he's 1, 2, 3, 4. So Elliot Lewis has got, John McBean has had 6 minutes and 13 seconds of ice time in this game. Elliot Lewis, in his debut game on a short-benched Guildford side, has had double the ice time of John McBean. That's mental to me. John McBean's going to the WIHF Cup of Nations. Great kid, lovely family, all the Kelsels. I did have a very brief chat to Paul, Nicky, and of course he was beaming with pride about his boy. But he should be proud of him actually. Jordan's a fascinating character. Really, really enjoyed my chat with him. And I come out of them, because usually, as you can appreciate, my interviews will generally take place in here in the library at BOTW Towers. And the first thing I'll do is I'll pop back next door into the lounge, and I'll always get, my wife will always ask me, how did it go? Because she's obviously, not the biggest hockey fan, but she's invested in me being happy. And I was really delighted. There's something to be said about watching this interview as well, and just watch how you can tell through someone's eyes sometimes how they're feeling, and the enthusiasm comes through Jordan Kelsall's eyes in this. It's really good fun. Nottingham Belfast into overtime, so the Giants managing to scrape a point out of this one, and Nottingham managing to survive that 5 minute penalty kill that they had to do, only conceding the one goal. What was that word in the end? Nicholas Gay from JJ Pickenich from Jake Gadet. Pickenich, when I saw him the other day, was brilliant. Really, really impressed with him. Still 3-1 to Manchester against Fife, as we wait to see whether Guildford can find our way back against Dundee. Another goal, though, as we predicted, for the Sheffield Steel Dogs. Jonathan Phillips has scored on the power play to make it 7-3, and it looks like that one is done with just under 12 minutes to play. Last call, as we've hit 9:30. Yes, he is class, Mark, you're right. But yeah, last call, as we've hit the bits and pieces. NHL season ticking along, as we've seen. Not a big Brad Marchand fan, but seeing him head back to his old stomping grounds to support people sort of post a tragedy in like I say, I'm not a fan of Brad Marchand, but you have to tip the cap to the man in moments like that, and also tip the cap to Florida as well for just saying, yeah, you've got to be somewhere else right now, off you go, kind of thing. Really, really impressive from the man and from the organisation to kind of sort things out there. Lots of fun in the DEL. Julius Hudacek, having left Dresden, has now gone and signed for Bremerhaven for the rest of the year. That was a lot of fun. Berlin beating Mannheim, having been 3-1 down at home. Always fun. Sorry, Tambo, on that front. But yeah, Sunday, Cardiff, dead rubber in the Challenge Cup. Interesting challenge in terms of what to kind of say and what to do on that. I'm ready to go. I've got to print off my team info pack, but that'll be sorted out at some stage tomorrow, along with in the box thinking from Wednesday, because I want to make sure I keep up to date with that. It might be I will try and bang something out for it. Gonna work on it a little bit after this, work on it a little bit tomorrow morning as well before I take Nathan to the park. That is the joy sometimes. Weirdly, the Flames are all the Flames home games in November are all on Sundays, which is good in some ways because it gives me an extra day to prepare, and there's nothing, and I sometimes have to walk the line from being over prepared. I don't want to have too much stuff because otherwise you kind of panic trying to fit everything in, and it can feel like you're forcing stuff a bit. I'll be there Sunday, sadly. Well, come say hello. I'm quite easy to find. Come say hello to me in one of the breaks, Nicky. But the process. The process is the thing that fall for Dundee. That's just depressing, but probably understandable. They've got themselves rolling now, and also as well, like I said, this is a team that's running that's running Belfast really, really hard in the cup. So if I press that, it's not hit the game sheet yet. But yeah, the process is the thing that's been the hardest, I think, for me to learn. Learning what works and what doesn't. I'm really interested to see how things go with these, because one of the things I think I'd noticed with my eyesight was I was struggling at distance to read stuff even with my glasses. So having these now where everything is a bit sharper and a bit better focus, how will I do? I haven't seen Cardiff since pre-season. Guildford haven't played them since the 7-1 shellacking that they got down at the Vindico. So interested to see how that goes on that front. Very last call though, folks. Very last call for anything and everything into the chat. But yeah, I'm excited as always. Yeah, I'm really enjoying this so far. People seem to be quite pleased with how it's going. The club are looking after me really well as well. It should be said, it's really easy to talk about how much fun I'm having. I can only really credit the folk that Guildford have put around me, and the organisation. If I need something, if I have a question, I get it answered pretty sharpish. It's a really different way of engaging with the sport that I love, but I'm enjoying it. I really must say. And it seems that people are enjoying what I do, so I will take that. Dennis Busby with a goal for Manchester. They're now lead by 4-1. 4 goals to 1 against Fife. Busby was really good in the home game against Guildford the other week in the Challenge Cup. Less impressive when I saw him with my own 2 eyes. But it's very different. In Manchester, it's very different rink to Guildford. Either way, we are well past the 90-minute mark, and I think it's time to call it there. Bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, your number one source for all things related to British hockey. Of course, in the box thinking, there'll be a new one out at some point tomorrow ahead of Sunday, and that'll be from Wednesday's game against Guildford. It might be the meme edition. We'll see how we feel. But either way, that will be your way of keeping up with my sort of different insights of commentating, not just as well as getting the game analysis, a bit of a breakdown of what it's like to commentate on games in the Elite League this season. Of course, you do have the first time in 2.5 years. Running with the Herd is back. Any Bison game I get to, Running with the Herd will make a reappearance. It will be cameos this year, of course, but they will be there. And of course, hockey stories, long-form pieces of content from the 19th century to the present day, behind the Iron Curtain, into war, and beyond. The latest one is up there. Trade Centre, Jordan Kelsall, and the financial markets is there to enjoy. YouTube video you can just sit down and listen to. If you have YouTube music as well, it should appear there as a podcast, so you can just get it into your ears and stuff that way. But plenty of stuff. We are edging ever closer to the 15th anniversary of BOTW next March, so you've got plenty of stuff to check out over at bannersonthewall.wordpress.com. Head down into the description of the video. There is all the links there to our socials. We are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, we are on Blue Sky, and all of those good bits and pieces. There's also the link to our buymeacoffee.com/BOTW, our virtual busking hat. If you like what you see, if you enjoy what you get, then like I say, it don't have to give me money. Use your money for other things. But if you like what you get and you enjoy what you get and you want to contribute to what happens here at BOTW, chuck a few quid in the hat. Always appreciate it. And of course, all of the usual YouTube garble. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel as we try to keep upping those numbers and fight away against the algorithm. Keep that algorithm hamster happy, fat and fed. And we'll be back next Wednesday where we belong, on Wednesday night, 8 PM for the BOTW What's Current stream. The only game that goes through every game of every senior division in British hockey, from Belfast to Brantford, Leeds to Lee Valley, no stone left unturned across all the divisions, male and female. Pretty good, exciting weekend. Few really interesting games here happening. Have I missed any hockey parents ranting here yet? Not yet. Maybe they'll be in the comments afterwards, Mike. But either way, plenty of exciting hockey. Like I say, Sunday night, Flames TV. We'll be live from about 5:55. Face-off is at 6. If you want to join us, then by all means do. You are more than welcome. Be happy. And if you can't be happy, then wherever you are, please do whatever you can to please be safe. As my friend Scott Edwards would say, take care of yourself and somebody else. For bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, this is Anthony Russell saying stay safe. And so long till next time. Been a pretty busy week here at BOTW. You have got two game write-ups, a hockey stories, and this. And I've commentated. I am as busy as I have ever been, and I love it. I thank you all for your support for all the various endeavours that we do, and it means that we get to do it all again this weekend and back on Wednesday night in our home. Have a good hockey weekend wherever you find it, folks. Take care.